Good morning. Again. My name is Ann Pearl, and I am actually your worship associate this morning. Please join us for our Song of Gathering. It is in your teal hymnal, number 1017, Building a New Way. Please rise in body or spirit. Thank you.
You should see these shoes Reverend Michael has on. Oh my. Check them out later. Good morning, everybody. My name is Pat Krugman, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you have been with this congregation a while, a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting us, we welcome you. Whatever the faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory on which our church building sits as the ancestral homeland of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger peoples. Have a couple of, one announcement. First of all, if you attended either online or in person the auction last night, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for bidding. And I want to thank all of the people that helped out. I didn't cut all these snowflakes by myself. If you look at them, there are many different kinds, which is the beauty of the snowflakes and the cutters. So thank you so much, and I think Susie Dugas must have been cutting in her sleep. So all of you that cooked and donated and everything, this takes a whole congregation to make this happen. And believe it or not, I'm not burnt out. I'll be back next time because I know all the programs thanks to Monica. Our other announcement is community circles are small groups of 6 to 8 people who meet once a month to build relationships, and deepen connections with members of our community. These small groups nurture spiritual development and foster individual growth. If you are interested in joining a circle, look for the table in Fellowship Hall to sign up. I've been a part of these over the years, certainly at UUFNW. It's a wonderful experience, so join in. You'll get to know your friends like family, and that can be a good thing. Okay, let's see here. For the most up-to-date information on the topics that we talk about and others, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you are present in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee and conversation right here in Fellowship Hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link for our Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. If you are just recently joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please email us at uukroton@gmail.com with your name, and we will be sure that you are added to our e-news list. It is chock full of information. Also, please remember to silence your phone at this time. And once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
Our guest preacher today, guest minister, is the Reverend Michael Tino. Reverend Dr. Michael Tino is part of the lead ministry team at the Church of the Larger Fellowship, our UU congregation without borders or walls. CLF's membership includes some 1,800 incarcerated Unitarian Universalists. For 15 years, Reverend Michael served as the minister of our sibling congregation in Mount Kisco, New York. Michael lives in Peekskill with their husband and daughter and is delighted to return to UUCHF, and I'm very proud to introduce Reverend Michael Tino.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you, Pat. It is good to be back. It is good to see old friends and make new ones as well. Our invocation this morning comes from my friend and colleague, Jakaran Olaoya. It's entitled Prayer for Survival. Jakaran writes, "To the God of many names and faces we pray. We ask for mercy as we look ahead, unsure of our path, but clear in our need to feel safe, to feel whole, to feel held. We ask for time as we go, as we move, planning as we go for things that matter deeply, to find joy, to find hope, to find community. We ask for warmth as we are solitary, connecting through screens, touching hearts without hands, to stop loneliness, to stop hurting, to stop silence. All of these things we ask from each of us in our own way, with our own spirits as we survive. Amen."
Thank you so much. And now it is time for our bell ringing, led by our dear Dean Hodel, our Director of Religious Exploration. We ring the bell 8 times for our 8, what's the word? Principles, thank you. I'm so wiped out from last night, I'm really sorry. For our 8 principles, sorry. Yay! Our chalice lighting today was sent to us by, once again, our dear Jane Podell, and I thought it rather appropriate for today. It's a quote from Parker Palmer. "Self-care and self-love is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift I have, the gift I was put on earth to offer others. Anytime we can listen to our true self and give it the care it requires, we do so not only for ourselves, but for the many others whose lives we touch." Thank you so much for sending that to us. Now, please join me in saying our unison affirmation. The words are in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice.
So when I was asked to think about a time for all ages in our worship, I really wanted to make it a time for all ages. And I wanted to invite you into a little bit of a conversation with me today. So I want you to imagine, bring to your mind the worst thing that you've ever done in your life. And I don't want to know what it is, but I want you to think about it. Like maybe it makes you squirm in your seat to think about it. Maybe you were not nice to someone. Maybe you even hurt someone. Maybe you took something that wasn't yours. Whatever the worst thing that it is. My grandmother of blessed memory used to like to take towels from hotels. So, which I know, because even though she passed away when I was 4, we have a whole collection of towels that say Holiday Inn on them. And so I'm going to use that as a humorous example. I like to think it was the worst thing my grandmother ever did in her life. I'll use that as a humorous example, but when I talk about stealing towels, I want you to bring to mind the worst thing that you've ever done. Whatever it is that you're squirming in your seat that I'm making you think about today. So what do you think it would be like if you went to the cafeteria in school and nobody wanted to sit with you and you heard people going, "That's the person who steals the towels"? How would that feel? Probably not so good, right? How would it feel if you tried to make friends with folks or came to a new congregation and people asked, "Well, what have you been doing the last 5 years?" And you had to say, "Well, I've been going around to hotels and stealing towels." And then they didn't want to talk to you and they didn't welcome you into their church. Probably wouldn't feel so good, right? How about if you went and applied for a job? And at the end of the job application, there was a thing that said, "I have never in my life stolen a towel." And you had to sign it. And if they could prove that you had, say there were Holiday Inn towels in your closet at home, if you ever had, they would just fire you on the spot and maybe even charge you with perjury for having signed that. And when you didn't sign it, they said, "I'm sorry, we can't give you a job interview because you're a towel thief." How would that feel? So you can imagine that I'm not talking just about people who take towels from Holiday Inns, that there are people in our society who are always thought of by the worst thing that they've ever done in their life. And sometimes those things are bad. They're really bad. So how do you think we get past that? What are the kinds of questions we ask people to get to know them? Do we ask people, hi, you're new here. What's the worst thing you've ever done in your life? Probably not. What do we ask them? Anyone have an idea?
Where do you live?
Where do you live? What do you do?
What do you like to eat?
Do you want to be my friend? Yeah, and if they say yes, then you probably have to figure out what you might have in common, right? Like what you might want to play together doing, what you both enjoy, right? That's a great question. What other questions do we ask people to get to know them?
What brought you here?
What brought you here? Right, like maybe we get a little curious. We bring our holy curiosity to bear. Yeah, too often our society asks people, what's the worst thing you've ever done in your life? And when that answer is not something nice, when it's not even something funny, like the worst thing I've ever done is I took a towel from a Holiday Inn 17 times. We had a lot of Holiday Inn towels. If that's not if it's not even funny, people get judged for that, and people get marked with that, and people have to carry that with them. And part of our job as folks who affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, right? You've probably heard that language before, once or twice. We affirm that all people can be good and are loved, right? And part of our job as those folks in this world is to find the other questions, to really make relationships with people and to get to know them. So thank you. I believe we sing "Go Now in Peace" as our children go to their religious exploration classes, or class.
Well, let's do it in two parts today. First all together and then to this side start.
Let us now bear witness to the joys and sorrows experienced in our community. I light this first candle for all suffering in the conflicts in the world, in Gaza and Israel, in South Sudan, Yemen, and Ukraine, and so many other places. Let's have a moment of silence for all those aching in the wider world. As our sorrows are real, so are joys. I light the second candle for all care, kindness, and compassion unfolding among friends, families, and strangers in the world right now, in cities, towns, and villages. We are grateful for the love shared. As we hold and honor the sorrows and joys of the wider world, so do we also have personal joys and sorrows. Now is the time for our personal joys and sorrows. If you have a brief yet personally significant joy or sorrow that you are willing to share, please come up to the microphone to my left and speak loudly so that everyone, including the people watching at home, can hear you. If you would prefer only to have a candle lit without speaking, please just stand or raise your hand and I will light a candle for you. I'm going to get things started today. I had a sorrow emailed to me from our dear Terry Lucan. Terry is home from the hospital, but she is struggling with pain. She recently had a knee replacement. She is recuperating, but she would appreciate everyone's good thoughts and get well wishes. I also have a joy to share. If you will all turn to the back of your order of service, you will see a lovely advertisement for our own YCP Theater Works that performs exclusively in this building. And you can see all the dates of our upcoming performances. I know that 2 tickets were won by the Kempers that were auctioned off yesterday, and I'm very happy about that. So please buy many tickets, buy them often, see as many shows as you would like. All the information is on the back of your order of service.
Hi, I'm Nora Mulligan. I don't know if this is a joy or a sorrow yet. Tonight I am performing on cello at a recital in Ossining, and I am, ever so slightly nervous.
It's a joy, it's a joy.
Next Saturday down at Croton Point, we're having our big Eagle Watch from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We open the doors at 9. We have all the pavilions set up, all the environmental groups are going to be there. We have accommodations for special needs people, and we have these huge telescopes so you can view the birds like they're right in front of you. And we take people up on the land with a big observation post set up. Also, this afternoon, over at the Montrose Library at 2 p.m., we're having a chorus coffee house with musicians and entertainment. That's going to be for free. So, and that's all.
You may not know me. I'm Pat Krugman. I have a great joy in that my former husband, Lee, he is now scheduled for surgery. They found 2 matches, and one is like almost so perfect they can't even believe it. I called him this week to just congratulate him on making such a brave decision and how thrilled I am that he's doing this for his sake, for Sarah's sake, for all of his friends. He goes into the hospital on the 22nd of February. He's there for a full week. And then it's not an operation, it is a transfer. The bone marrow is transferred. And I was curious, why a whole week beforehand? Intense chemo and intense radiation. So say a prayer for him, for us, for Sarah. It's going to be a long recovery throughout the year and into next probably, but please keep us in your hearts.
I have a joy that this is, I think, my first full sermon that I'm actually staying for. Because I usually do the child service care. I usually watch the kids, but now I'm actually here.
Yay. Let's see if he comes back.
Hi, I'm Megan. I spent most of this last week quite sick at home, so I am happy to be on the mend, and I'm also very grateful to have an equal partner in my life who, despite having a very busy week at work, also made sure that I could take care of myself and that our daughter was taken care of. So Thank you, Chris.
I'm Ginny Stillman, and I want to give a big shout out to Monica and to Pat for running such a great auction. Yes. Yeah. And I have a couple of other little joys and sorrows. A good friend of mine, her partner, has just gone through resection for colon cancer, and we're praying that the biopsy comes back negative in a week or so. I had the joy of seeing my younger son, who's a jazz saxophonist. He was in town this past week. I got to hear him play at Birdland last Sunday, and then a small gathering of people here in Croton that was just, both of them were just amazing. Of course, I'm his mom. I'm unbiased. You know, he's great. Anyway, yeah. And I also wanted to mention, many of you may have met Inga Tresser, who's a member of our congregation. She had a hospitalization back in the fall and is still kind of recovering, getting her strength back. Her stepson Lars came in from Sweden to be here this past week, and it's been a joy to see and do things with both of them. She's come a long way since the fall. And thanks.
I do want to mention also one more quick joy. Yes, thank you. I do want to mention one more quick joy as well. And it's really a joy of gratitude to Chris Fenton and Gary Simon for filling in today at the last moment and coming to our rescue and being able to do the live stream when Gil could not be here. So thank you so much. Yes.
I want to mention to everybody that Al Raymond has done almost all of his radiation. He has 7 more to go, and they are shortening them by a minute every time, so he's in the home stretch. It's great news.
We've all circled around it, but nobody has said what a great job Ann did. The jokes were great, and her laughter is infectious.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We also acknowledge all the unspoken joys and sorrows held within the sanctuary of our hearts, and all those people who have yet to find a spiritual home where they too can share their joys and sorrows.
Let's take a moment to center ourselves, to notice the blazing light that is made when we bring our whole selves into community with one another. As we breathe in, let us feel our connection to those in this community, the people whose lives we have borne sacred witness to, the people who remain silent, the people we love, the people we have yet to know well enough to love. May we know that we are connected to them. As we breathe out, let us send our love to each other. We breathe in, let us know that we are connected to the world outside of these doors, to the people that we know, to the people we have not yet met, to all beings in the interdependent web of existence. And as we breathe out, let us send love to all of the beings in our world. As we breathe in, let us know that we are connected through the molecules that we inhale to all of the beings that have ever been in this world. And as we breathe out, let us know that we are connected to all of the beings who will ever be in this world. And as we take a few more breaths, let us know that connection deep in our bones. Let us feel that connection, and let us send love to all of the beings with whom we are connected. Blessed be.
Today's reading comes to us from Joseph, an incarcerated UU and CLF member. Joseph shared their reflection of the idea of sacrifice. Joseph writes, "The value of sacrifice is relative. Without sacrifice, I would not be here living life as I know it. If my mother hadn't sacrificed her time and put her dreams on hold, then she wouldn't have been able to raise me so lovingly. She was 20 years old, barely an adult, and I feel certain I wasn't planned. She probably had many other plans, maybe traveling, concentrating on school. I thank Mom for her sacrifice. It was very valuable to me. Some sacrifices seem small to us, but can be very valuable to the recipient. Perhaps you sacrifice some time once a week to go visit a nursing home. If you have spare time, you would normally watch TV or spend it on the internet. You could make a sacrifice that is of little value to you, but could be of enormous value to the nursing home resident who has no family. Our sacrifices are an offering to the group soul of humanity. No matter how small or large, if it does good for one, it is good for all." Depending on my commitment and intention, my sacrifice doesn't have to be public. When things are done without my attachment to the result, they are more pure and powerful. Some sacrifice all their lives in order that others may live. Some make small sacrifices of that social awkwardness to overcome that, to share a kind word with a stranger. No matter how small a good thing is, it is still good. Oh, sorry. My bad. Please now rise in body or spirit. We're going to be singing hymn number 95, "There is More Love Somewhere."
Thank you all. That is my favorite hymn, and I don't get to sing with folks that often these days anymore, so I love when I get to sing it with a congregation. I preach to an online community these days, so I also don't get to wear shoes in worship. So thank you, thank you, Pat, for noticing the preaching shoes. I have to wear the very fanciest shoes I have when I show up somewhere in person. It is a gift to be with you today. I believe our call as Unitarian Universalists, as people of faith in this bruised, battered, and burning world, is nothing less than the collective liberation of all humanity. Now that should be doable. This week, maybe, this month, this lifetime. In reality, we all know that task of the collective liberation of all humanity is overwhelming. Everywhere we turn, there are people hurting. Everywhere we turn, there are people facing violence, injustice, and discrimination. Everywhere we turn, there are people in hell. Hells created by humanity, but with very real and present pain. One of my very favorite sayings to describe our Unitarian Universalist call to collective liberation is that we love the hell out of the world. And so where those hells exist, we must go. This saying that we love the hell out of the world comes from my colleague and friend, the Reverend Joanna Fontaine Crawford. And it is a modern interpretation of our Universalist heritage. Our Universalist ancestors taught us that no human being will go to hell. Whatever we believe about what happens when we die, we need to realize that hell is not something relegated to an afterlife. Just open a newspaper or the app on your phone that stands in for one these days. Just open your heart to the world around you. It's there. Hell is right there. Hell is right here in our midst. And as long as hell exists on this earth, as long as there are people in our society who are not free, who have not achieved liberation, it is our job, it is our Unitarian Universalist job to love the hell out of the world, to express our love into this world in ways that dispel that hell, that break the chains, that liberate people. Now we know that anywhere that such conditions exist flies right in the face of our Unitarian Universalist affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We know that anywhere that oppression exists in our world flies right in the face of our Unitarian Universalist values, all 8 of those principles. We know that we are called to find those areas where people are in hell in our midst and break them free of that hell. The hell that is created physically in our society, the hell that is created mentally in our society, the hells that are created emotionally in our society, the hells that are created spiritually in our society. We are called to break people free of them all. So what does that mean? To me, first and foremost, it means that we need to understand where the hell exists, where there are people who are suffering, where there are people who are enslaved, where there are people who have yet to achieve liberation, where there are people who live every day under systems of oppression that keep them constricted and that teach them less than worthy. And that brings us right back to that overwhelm, because there's just so much of it. There's so much to do. It's hard to know where we are supposed to start. So I start by finding the prophetic voices in our midst that are pointing us to the hells that exist. We start by finding those voices, and then we try to understand what those prophetic voices are asking us to do. And then our job is to do it. Who are the prophetic voices in our midst? Who are these prophets pointing to hells in our midst? Who are the people whose voices are calling you to collective liberation? A few moments ago, you may have caught that in my list of modern-day hells, I listed places where people are enslaved. Sometimes, friends, liberation is not a subtle thing. Sometimes hell is not a subtle thing. There are people who are literally enslaved in our midst, physically bound and enslaved. And they're not in some place that we've barely heard of or on the other side of the world. They're right here in our midst, here in the United States, here in Westchester County, in Ossining, just a few miles from where we are sitting. Those of us who are here in person this morning, exists slavery. Now, it is possible that you thought that slavery was outlawed over 100 years ago in the United States, and yet astute students of U.S. history know that the amendment to the United States Constitution that outlawed slavery has built within it an exception. Slavery is allowed in the U.S. Constitution as, quote, punishment for a crime. And so it is the reality in our midst that our incarcerated siblings are enslaved. They are forced to do labor with no or very little compensation, sometimes pennies per hour. And then those pennies per hour that they earned are taken from them for the necessities of their life, for feminine hygiene products, or for stamps if they want to send a letter to their beloveds. Their bodies are being used to enrich an elite few. They are literally fuel for the fires of our economy. When I was called to serve the Church of the Larger Fellowship, the congregation I am part of the co-lead ministry team of, I knew that we had a robust and growing prison ministry. I knew it, I knew that it was there. At the time, it was just passing 1,000 incarcerated Unitarian Universalist members. It is now 1,800 and still growing 3 years later. I was not prepared when I stepped into this role as minister of the Church of the Larger Fellowship for how becoming a minister to the incarcerated Unitarian Universalists I serve would change the way I am called to be in this world. How this vital and life-saving ministry would force me to face my universalism in entirely new ways. The congregation I serve, CLF, the Church of the Larger Fellowship, I don't like to pretend that you all know what the acronym is, but from now on I'm just going to say CLF, declares openly and publicly again and again that our members are worthy human beings, just as they are right now. Worthy of our love, worthy of our time, worthy of having their spiritual lives taken seriously, worthy of the investment of resources to help them explore and grow and live their Unitarian Universalism and be better people, worthy of getting to know, of asking the good questions, the curious questions that help us to get to know them as human beings, and not the questions about what the worst things they've ever done in their life were. is a powerful, powerful ministry. Especially because the people that we serve are caught in a system that seeks to strip them of inherent worth and dignity daily. Our society has taken on this almost bloodlust for punishment, rather than even try to rehabilitate people or to help them be better and do better. We seek to punish them. We put them in systems where they are sought out and made targets of violence. And in many places in this country, and I don't know that New York is necessarily one of those places, but let's just say 500 of our incarcerated members are incarcerated in Texas, and Texas certainly is. Those people whose theologies are not evangelical Christian in nature are particularly singled out for violence in that system. And all of the people who are supposed to be keeping them safe, they look the other way because it's okay to inflict violence on the atheists or the humanists or the pagans. It's somehow okay because they are less than in that system. Those whose gender identities do not match the assignment of the prison system that they're in are also singled out for violence day after day after day. So many of our members are trans women incarcerated in men's prisons or trans men incarcerated in women's prisons. And the authorities in those prisons look the other way as these folks are singled out again and again for violence, physical violence, emotional violence. And so to have a church say, no, actually we love you. No, actually we want to know what your theology is so that we can discuss with you how your theology informs your ethics, how your theology informs who you are in this world. No, actually, you are worth us listening to. We love to get your letters, and we will write to you back. To have a church say that to them saves lives. It saves their lives every day. We at CLF get letters that say, thank you for being there in a time of despair for me. Thank you for being there when I was convinced that I had no worth with a newsletter entitled Worthy Now. It saved my life this morning when it arrived. We get those letters every day. And so this ministry is growing fast because one thing that we can count on is word of mouth testimony within the prison systems. People know each other. And so when someone confides to someone else that they are not actually a Christian and they don't know what to do with that, they get told, hey, maybe you want to join my church. They're Unitarian Universalists and they love you, whatever your theology is. And so we get an application from that person too. As I said, when I came to CLF back in 2020, so it'll be 4 years in August, it's 3.5 years, we were just passing the 1,000 mark in our incarcerated members. When I first wrote this sermon to share in White Plains, we had just passed 1,700 incarcerated members. This month we passed 1,800, and that number is not slowing down. My incarcerated congregants teach me that liberation is not subtle and have made me into a prison abolitionist. They have made me into someone who believes that our society can and must do better than the carceral state that we have made. Now, that's it's not a position that I come to lightly, and it is not a position without controversy in our society. They have made me into a prison abolitionist. They have helped me see that the prison industrial complex that we support in our society, that includes Sing Sing prison in Ossining, 3 miles from here, or 4 miles, or whatever Ossining is, that includes that major prison complex. That prison industrial complex is the grandchild of enslavement in the United States. It is the grandchild that when enslaved people were free, our society tried to find new and legal ways to keep people chained, and invented ways to keep people terrorized, to keep black and brown people terrorized in our society. And eventually we came up with, well, let's just lock them up and use the exception in the 13th Amendment and just enslave them again. Which brings me back to Joseph's reflection and to our call to collective liberation. Because even that abolitionist project is a big one. I'm sure that I would have to spend a lot of time just convincing people that it's worthy of pursuing, much less how are we going to get past this. It can be a huge project, and even that one thing that I have come to believe with all my heart can be overwhelming if I let it. Sometimes, though, what I can do to love the hell out of the world is small. And small still counts. That small piece of good, says Joseph, that you do for one is still a piece of good in this world. A lot of people that I know think about, for example, voting, and voting for people who might be inclined to change policies and make them just a little better, and they deride voting as not a liberationist endeavor, because none of the candidates are seeking liberation. Let's be clear, they're not. I hear again and again, voting is harm reduction, not liberation, as if that's supposed to convince me that it's not good, and yet harm reduction reduces harm. Even that little bit of good that we do adds good to this world. Sometimes what I can do is send a message to incarcerated members, to write a letter, to write an article for our newsletters that we send out monthly to them, to form a relationship, to read the letters that they write to me, and to respond to them, acknowledging the humanity of the people who are writing. One of the programs that we are most proud of is our Pen Pal program at CLF. We connect people in the free world, or the freer world, the world outside the prison walls, with our incarcerated members as pen pals, one-on-one, Unitarian Universalist to Unitarian Universalist. We encourage people to form relationships, and those relationships are liberatory. Those relationships save people. Those relationships get people through the sentences that they are serving. The collective liberation of all humanity requires our collective effort. It requires each of us to give whatever we can, however small that is, to the future of humanity, to the future of our world, so that we are collectively moving everyone down that road to freedom. We as Unitarian Universalists are called to build a pathway to collective liberation with our actions, the big ones and the small ones, the everyday pieces of goodness that we put into this world. We are called to bring powerful love to bear as action in this world, action that is accountable to the people who are suffering the pains of hell in our midst. We are called to love and to sacrifice, knowing that, as Joseph reminds us, no matter how small a good thing is, it is still good. His is one of the prophetic voices that I carry in the world with me. We can do this work. We can get all people free. It is overwhelming, and it's necessary if we are truly going to love the hell out of this world. Amen. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
Each week we make an offering from the bounty that we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in the spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those that in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work of love and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will also be shared with Emergency Shelter Partnerships. Emergency Shelter Partnership of Northern Westchester provides meals that, you can go to their website. So just so you know, January's plate donations will go towards the meals that our congregation will be providing during their hosting week for people, for unhoused people, I believe, correct? Yes. Okay. And that's happening in March. So you'll be apprised more as that grows nearer, and in the meanwhile, please go to their website if you want to learn more, esp-ny.org. You can make your donation in several ways. If present in the sanctuary, you may give cash or a check in the offering plate as it comes by. From your homes, you can make your donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter, or by visiting our website, UUCHValley.org. Or if you prefer, you may always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me now in the dedication of the offering. The words are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Please join me now in extinguishing the chalice. The words are also in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our benediction today comes from my co-minister, Cristina Rivera. Our colleague, the Reverend Julian Soto, writes, "You are here to put out the ravenous flames of the world. Enough is enough." Chris writes, "In their words, I hear that liberation is everyone's responsibility. It is ours, it is yours. We can try to avoid the discomfort of that, or we can face it, knowing that we do it together in love, knowing that we do it as a people of faith with a liberatory theology which actually demands both our witness and our action, knowing that we do it in solidarity with the communities whose lived experiences are the keys to abolition. Beloveds, now is the moment. Now is the time. Now is the inconvenient season of liberation. May we seize that opportunity. Blessed be.